Welcome to day 2, week 4 of the course, Campus Recruitment Training. Today we will focus on effective communication and body language in group discussion. During the final placement season at Horizon Business School, a well-known multinational company arrived to recruit management trainees. Among the shortlisted candidates were Anya, a soft-spoken but highly capable individual. The group discussion round was the key filter, and the topic assigned was, should remote work be the new normal? As the discussion began, many participants jumped in hastily, raising their voices, interrupting each other, and trying to dominate the conversation. Whereas Anya waited patiently, observed the energy in the room, and noted who was saying what. When there was a brief pause, she entered with a calm and composed tone. Her words were deliberate and structured. She said remote work had transformed the work-life equation, but should be balanced with in-person collaboration. She used examples from current industry trends, employee surveys, and productivity reports. What made her stand out was not just what she said, but how she said it. She maintained steady eye contact with different members of the group. She nodded subtly when others made valid points, showing that she was attentive. Her gestures were open and confident, never aggressive, never defensive. While others leaned forward abruptly or crossed their arms, Anya sat upright with a relaxed posture. Her smile, though brief, added warmth to her statements and arguments. Midway through the discussion, when two participants began to argue over statistics, she intervened gracefully. She acknowledged both their perspectives and redirected the focus to the central issue. This small act of leadership changed the tone of the conversation. The rest of the discussion became more collaborative. After the session, the recruiter told the training and placement officer that Anya was selected not only for her content of speech, but also for her composed demeanor and effective nonverbal communication. She demonstrated that body language and clarity of expression are just as important as analytical thinking in a group discussion. Anya's story became a reference point for juniors on how thoughtful articulation combined with confident body language can make a lasting impact in recruitment processes. It reminded everyone that in a competitive group discussion, those who listen well, speak with purpose, and carry themselves with poise often leave the strongest impression. To take you through these details in depth, I welcome Ms. Dania Seth, Assistant Professor of English at Center for Management Studies, JND University. Ma'am will take you through the effective communication and body language in group discussion.
Hi, my name is Dania Seth, Assistant Professor at JND University, Center for Management Studies. Today we are going to look at effective communication and body language in group discussions. Effective communication and body language play a critical role in succeeding in group discussions during campus recruitment. Recruiters do not just assess what a candidate says, but also how they say it. The tone of your voice, clarity of thought, gestures, posture, and overall presence contribute to how one is perceived in a group discussion. Communication in a group discussion involves a combination of verbal precision, nonverbal cues, and interactive behavior. Verbal communication in a group discussion. Good verbal communication involves clarity, coherence, and confidence. It begins with how well the candidate understands the topic and how logically they express their views. Content should be relevant, well structured, and delivered in a clear voice with appropriate pace and intonation. Let's look at an example. If the group discussion topic is India's education system needs an overhaul, a strong communicator may begin by defining what the current system lacks, cite a recent example from the new education policy, and propose a solution based on skill integration. Instead of just saying vague statements like education is important, or a well-prepared speaker would say that the Indian education system has traditionally focused on rote learning, but with NEP 2020 there is a shift towards skill-based learning, which must be sustained through continuous teacher training and industry-academia collaboration. Effective communication also connects ideas, or the communicators, they connect the ideas with those of others. They may use expressions like building on what my friend said, or to extend that point further, which shows that they are team-oriented and responsive. They avoid filler words like and you know, which reduce clarity and diminish impact. Moving on to non-verbal communication. Nonverbal communication and body language. Nonverbal communication often conveys more than words. In a group discussion, recruiters observe facial expressions, posture, hand gestures, eye contact, and attentiveness. Positive body language shows confidence, engagement, and professionalism. Let's look at an example. Consider two candidates in a group discussion on should India prioritize space exploration over poverty alleviation. One candidate slouches, avoids eye contact, taps a pen on the table, and stares down while speaking. The other candidate sits upright, makes eye contact with the speakers, uses hand gestures sparingly to emphasize points. They also nod slightly when others speak. Even if both say equally valid things, the second candidate is more likely to be shortlisted because they demonstrate engagement, respect, and leadership presence through body language. Maintaining an upright yet relaxed posture signals readiness and confidence. Constant fidgeting, crossing of arms can be interpreted as nervousness or defensiveness. Open hand gestures, used moderately, show transparency and conviction. Excessive pointing or flailing of arms should be avoided. Facial expressions must match the message. If a candidate is talking about a serious issue like unemployment, a serious and focused expression is more appropriate than a smile. If speaking about opportunity or growth, a slight smile adds optimism and energy to the message. Moving on to listening as part of communication. Listening actively is a key element of effective communication. This involves nodding in agreement, maintaining eye contact with the speaker, and referencing the other's points. Interrupting or speaking over others reflects poor group behavior. A good listener picks up on the gaps in the other's arguments and brings them up respectfully. Example: if another speaker argues that online education is sufficient to replace traditional education, a good listener might respond by saying, now while online education has increased accessibility, traditional classroom learning fosters interpersonal skills and teamwork which cannot be easily replaced online. This response shows that the candidate was not only attentive but also capable of building a nuanced counter-argument. Moving on to tone and modulation. The tone should be assertive but not aggressive. A calm and steady voice shows control and confidence. Raising one's voice to dominate others can backfire. Polite phrases such as I believe, in my opinion, and may I suggest are words that soften the delivery and foster cooperation. Example: in a heated group discussion on social media more harmful than useful, where two participants are arguing, an effective communicator may say, let's try to look at both sides objectively. Or may I enter or may I offer an alternate perspective. This shows the ability to maintain composure and encourage constructive dialogue. Consistency between verbal and non-verbal cues is the next aspect. A disconnect between what is said and how it is said creates confusion. If someone says, I strongly believe in the idea but looks away and frowns and speaks hesitantly, it creates doubt. Congruence between words and gestures and expressions strengthens credibility. Moving on to the conclusion. Effective communication in a group discussion is a blend of well-articulated thoughts, respectful interaction, active listening, and appropriate body language. It reflects clarity of thinking, emotional intelligence, and the ability to work in a team. Candidates who speak with structure, respond thoughtfully, maintain positive body language, and, very importantly, engage with others constructively make a lasting impression on recruiters. Mastering both verbal and non-verbal communication increases the likelihood of success in group discussions and sets a strong foundation for professional communication in the workspace. We will now look at case study questions and answers that highlight key lessons on effective communication and body language in group discussions. Let's look at the case study. Question 1. A group of candidates is participating in a group discussion on the topic, should cryptocurrencies be regulated in India? During the discussion, one participant named Ayan has relevant content and strong opinions, but is frequently interrupting others and speaking with a loud tone. Another participant named Ria speaks with a calm tone, waits for others to finish, supports her points with data, maintains eye contact, and uses subtle gestures to emphasize key ideas. Despite speaking fewer times, Ria is shortlisted while Ayan is not. Question: why did the recruiter choose Ria over Ayan even though Ayan spoke more and showed stronger content knowledge? The answer is simple. The recruiter chose Ria because she demonstrated effective communication and respectful group behavior. While Ayan had knowledge, his constant interruptions and aggressive tone showed poor listening skills and low team orientation. Ria, on the other hand, communicated her ideas with clarity and composure. She maintained steady eye contact, allowed others to speak, and used body language to show engagement. Recruiters value not just what is said, but how it is said, and how well a candidate is in a collaborative environment. Let's look at the second case study. Question 2. In a group discussion round on the topic online education versus traditional education, 6 candidates begin by stating their views rapidly. One candidate named Arjun takes a moment to listen to 3 participants, builds on their views by connecting them with real-world examples, and offers structured opinion. He speaks clearly, sits upright, uses limited hand movements, and nods when others speak. He contributes only twice, but each time he adds value. Other participants speak more but often repeat ideas or deviate from the topic. Question: what did Arjun do differently that impressed the panel despite limited speaking time? The answer is Arjun used effective communication by listening actively, connecting ideas, and presenting well-structured arguments. His body language reflected attentiveness and confidence. Instead of dominating the discussion, he chose meaningful moments to speak. This showed strategic thinking, clarity of thought, and team sensitivity. Recruiters often look for quality of input over the quantity of the participation. Arjun's composure, respect for others, and the relevance of the content made him stand out. Case study question 3. During a mock group discussion session for training, candidates were told to observe each other. One participant noticed that a peer named Sana maintained eye contact, smiled occasionally, and used open hand gestures, and leaned slightly forward while speaking. However, another participant named Dev kept shifting in his seat, looked at the table while talking, and crossed his arms frequently. Question: how did Sana's body language help her communicate while Dev's might have reduced the impact of his communication? The answer is that Sana's body language showed confidence, openness, and engagement. Eye contact builds trust, hand gestures emphasized her points, and forward leaning indicated interest. These non-verbal cues enhanced the impact for her spoken words. In contrast, Dev's shifting posture, lack of eye contact, signaled nervousness and detachment. Crossed arms may have been interpreted as defensiveness. Good body language supports verbal communication and creates stronger and a very sound overall impression. Case study question 4. In a final selection group discussion, the topic was India's economic recovery after the pandemic. One participant named Shruti made excellent points but spoke in a monotonous tone without emphasis or change in pace. Another candidate named Kunal used voice modulation to stress key arguments, paused for effect, and summarized the discussion with confidence. The question: how did Kunal's voice modulation improve his effectiveness compared to Shruti's monotonous delivery? The answer is that Kunal's voice modulation added depth and emphasis to his ideas, making his points more engaging and persuasive. Pausing at the right moments, allowing the group to absorb the message, this variation in tone reflected confidence and control over the discussion. Shruti, despite good content, failed to maintain the attention due to a flat tone. Vocal delivery is a vital part of effective communication and often influences how ideas are received and remembered in a group discussion. These case study question and answers demonstrate how effective communication and body language are decisive factors in a group discussion success. They highlight that being knowledgeable is important, yes, but conveying ideas with pause, respect, and strategy is what truly sets the candidate apart in campus recruitment contexts. Real-life examples from campus recruitment scenarios that demonstrate the impact of effective communication and body language in a group discussion. Let's start with example 1. During the placement process at a leading engineering college, a major consulting firm conducted a group discussion on the topic, the future of work in a post-pandemic world. One of the candidates, Priya, stood out not because she spoke the most, but because how she communicated. She listened actively, summarized others' points before adding her own. Throughout the group discussion, she maintained clear and structured speech. Her body language was calm and composed. She sat straight, made regular eye contact, and used small gestures to emphasize key thoughts. Her confidence was evident in her steady tone and the ability to bring the discussion back to the topic whenever it derailed. She was selected not only for her insights, but for showing leadership and professionalism through her presence. Moving on to example 2. At a business school group discussion round for a retail management role, the topic was given, brand loyalty during the age of e-commerce. Rohit, a marketing student, entered the discussion aggressively. He cut others off, raised his voice, and when challenged, he moved back to a defensive position. He leaned forward sharply as he spoke. Although his content was strong, his posture and tone came off as hostile. Meanwhile, another candidate named Neha spoke fewer times, but always after acknowledging the previous points. She smiled occasionally, used a balanced voice, and gestured naturally while presenting her thoughts. Recruiters appreciated Neha's composed and collaborative approach. She was selected while Rohit was not, proving that dominating behavior can work against a candidate even with very, very good content. Moving on to example 3. In a technology campus placement for a multinational software company, students were grouped to discuss, are we too dependent on technology? Among them was a candidate named Varun, who had limited knowledge but displayed excellent communication habits. He asked clarifying questions, paraphrased others' opinions, and framed his arguments based on what he heard. He maintained consistent body posture, showed openness through hand movements, and made eye contact without staring. Even though he wasn't the most informed participant, he demonstrated critical thinking and engagement, which impressed the panel. He advanced to the next round ahead of others who were better informed but less effective. Example 4. At a design school placement group discussion conducted by a product innovation firm, students were asked to discuss innovation versus sustainability. Radhika started with a short but impactful opening. She used storytelling, clear structure, and metaphors to support her views. Her tone varied appropriately, showing enthusiasm while talking about creative solutions and seriousness while addressing environmental impact. Her gestures were smooth and natural. She also engaged the quieter participants by inviting them to the conversation. Her verbal and non-verbal communication reflected emotional intelligence, and she was offered the role for her ability to engage and influence through her presence and tone. These real-life examples show that effective communication and confident body language can help candidates distinguish themselves in group discussions, even when the competition is more vocal or with more knowledgeable peers. Success in group discussions is not just about what you say, but also about how you carry yourself and connect with the group. Good luck.